Tennessee Titans end up losing. Los Angeles Chargers end up defeating Tennessee Titans 17-14, and I'm not really surprised at all because this was a game where the Chargers just slightly were able to outplay the Titans, mainly because Titans defense wasn't able to get a stop when needed most, because Chargers were able to move the football, kick a game-winning field goal, and as a result, Titans weren't able to score a touchdown since they didn't have much time left after giving up that game-winning. After the Chargers made a game-winning field goal, the Titans weren't able to use laterals to beat the Chargers. So I'm not really surprised at all. It was a thrilling game where the Titans, they played mostly a great game because they held the Chargers to 17 points. They got the game tied very, very late in the fourth quarter, 14-14. They end up winning the turnover battle, if I recall right, 2-1. The Titans had that incredible interception where one Titans defender is out of bounds. Well, he's not touching the ground, except he's out of bounds. He's able to he's able to push the football into bounds, and 8 other Titans defender that is in bounds is able to catch the football, resulting in an interception, and then just other common interception. So, if I recall right, the Titans ended up winning the turnover battle 2-1. Derrick Henry, he had a great game since he ran for over 99 yards and 1 touchdown. So he had a great game, except that was fruitless, mainly because of the fact that the Titans defense wasn't able to get a stop when needed most. Mainly, they weren't able to keep the Chargers. Chargers were able to get into field goal range, and they made a game-winning field goal. So the Titans having this great performance was fruitless, mainly because of the fact that the Titans defense wasn't able to get a stop when needed most. So it was a frustrating defeat. However, this was like the closest to a winnable game that the Titans have had during this losing streak, because in the fourth quarter of that game versus the Eagles, which just went from bad to worse that game wasn't winnable in the fourth quarter. It was garbage time before the fourth quarter. It was a close game versus the Bengals, except the Titans were never they weren't able to get the game tied. Not that I recall of in the fourth quarter. So again, even though that was a close game, it wasn't a game where where it was realistically for them to win in the fourth quarter, just mainly, or to get the game tied in the fourth quarter, just because of the fact that they weren't able to, because they gave up more than they gave up 23 points to the Bengals. And the Titans were only able to score 16. So it's a very frustrating defeat. However, Titans are showing progress. This is like the lowest amount of points that they've lost to a team during this long losing streak. So I'm confident the Titans are just going to put together a full effort and outplay the Texans to defeat them in an entertaining close game, even though I know Willis is starting, so I don't expect that to be an issue. And even if the Texans are able to successfully contain Henry, which I would think that's a realistic possibility, just because the Texans have been playing better for 2 consecutive weeks. Nearly played a great game versus the Cowboys, even though that was a game they weren't able to win. Played a greater game versus the Chiefs. A game that was in overtime, and weren't able to defeat the Chiefs in overtime, and still played a greater game. So wouldn't be surprised at all if the Texans are able to successfully contain Henry, and Henry forcing, because Henry is contained, forcing the Titans, mainly Malik Willis, to defeat the Texans mainly by throwing the football. So wouldn't be surprised if all of that happens. However, I'm still optimistic the Titans are going to win that game, simply because they just outplay a Texans team that's just playing mainly to ruin other teams' seasons, except also playing for pride, since most likely they're going to finish as the worst team in the NFL. And yeah, so it was a thrilling, entertaining game, because it's still a disappointment, mainly because of the fact that this was the most winnable game the Titans have had during the losing streak, and they got outplayed by the Chargers undeniably in a 17-14 game that they lost, mainly because of, not just because of the missed field goal, also because the Titans defense wasn't able to get a stop when needed most, since Chargers had no struggle moving the football, getting into field goal range, and then game-winning field goal was made. So it was a disappointing defeat. However, since I'm confident the Titans are just going to finally end that losing streak versus the hapless, playing better, playing mostly great, versus the abysmal, except playing great Texans. I'm a lot less unhappy about the Titans losing a thrilling, winnable close game to the Chargers, just because I'm just confident the Titans are going to outplay the Texans in the losing streak in Tennessee by defeating the Texans on Christmas Eve Saturday of the 2022 NFL regular season. Go Titans, tighten up, get the win versus the Texans.